Press 2GB 873.
Welcome to Country. We've had a bit of discussion about that last couple of mornings on the program. Senator Pauline Hanson is online to comment further on it. Senator Hanson, of course, is, among other things, leader of Pauline Hanson's One Nation. Morning, Pauline. How are you?
Good morning. Oh, I'm good. It's been flat out in Parliament, so a lot that's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
But, very frustrated at times. And
you were saying you tried to put up a bill, but against precedent, it wouldn't be heard. Is that what happened?
That's right. So I put up a sex discrimination bill, and it's basically to go back to, in the bill it states, it's based on biological male and biological female. That's all it was, to add that.
Yeah.
Anyway, they denied me the right to the first reading. So it goes through the first reading where you introduce a bill to Parliament. Any member of Parliament can do it. Then it goes through the second reading. That's debate on it. And the third reading is passed as law if it gets passed. They denied me the right in the first reading to actually introduce the bill. The Greens called it a stunt. It was despicable. I was hurting people. Labor just said I'm extremist on the right. How dare I introduce this? That I'm just crazy. And the coalition supported me on the bill, and so did a couple of the crossbenchers. And it's just ridiculous. This is the second time it's ever happened. The other times that it has happened is in 1914 and 1957, and that's when they denied it. But this is the second time they've done it to me. The other bill I tried to introduce is the definition of Aboriginality, and they refused to even allow me to introduce that bill.
Is that right? Yes, I remember a conversation about that, and there was a catch-up piece with Andrew Bolt, I think from 10 years ago, establishing that what he had said was correct in, who's Aboriginal and who's not. But as far as the bill, presumably this is about the transsexuals, it seems to me that a lot of politicians, I suppose on the left, yes, okay, it's their code, they support it, but a lot of politicians seem to be terrified of any transsexual activity. Why do you think that is? I mean, it's not that there's a lot of them. Is it that it's a fight that they just don't want to get involved in?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
It's because they don't want to be called transphobic.
Yeah.
All these names, Islamophobic, transphobic, all these issues, racist and all the rest of it. So they don't want to get into the fight of it and standing up for, look, I understand there are people out there. We've got a real problem in our society, whereas people, for mental reasons or whatever, that we've actually now have situations where men, because they throw on a dress and they claim that they're a female now, that they can actually go into women's change rooms or on their websites and pose as a woman into female sport. There's some girls' club up in Queensland. Of course, they're facing the whole issue now. They're refusing to play them because they're men. It has to be sorted out. We can't just go along like this, Men are built totally differently, and you're either born as a male or a female. This is the XX chromosome or XY chromosome. They can't change that. I don't care how much you do, how many operations you have, how many, hormones you take, puberty blockers. It doesn't change anything. And we've got to be realistic about it. And you don't just slap women in the face and deny them their rights that women have fought so much for over these years, the right to vote, the right to work, the right for equal pay, all these issues, and all of a sudden women's rights are being stripped from them. And
that's the paradox, isn't it, that their women's rights are being stripped. Some of my listeners have pointed out quite accurately there is big money in the sex change. You don't just decide to change sex and that's the end of it. To maintain that position, it does cost a lot of money. So, I don't know, is it a case of follow the money again?
It is, because the figures that I have, to have an operation was about $150,000. And in America, there was only a few clinics. Now you've got over 300 clinics in America. Could have even grown from that.
Yeah. And
they're talking about, I was told it's about a $200 billion industry. So you have the pharmaceutical side of it, these people jumping on board with it. So it has. Money has got a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
But what we've got to learn by the mistakes that happened in Tavistock in the UK, where these kids were saying, I want to be a male or I want to be a female, and they went and had these hormone changes. Now that Tavistock has been shut down. There is court cases proceeding with it. These poor kids are going through mental problems, mental illnesses. They didn't realise the repercussions. Now, taking these hormones or puberty blockers is irreversible. The Greens argue on the floor of Parliament it isn't, but it is definitely, it's irreversible. And that's from doctors that have actually, made those comments. So, people need to know what they're doing. Rights being taken out of the hands of the parents and it's given to the children. So parents in some states, especially Victoria, you can't advise a child not to have it.
That's right. There's some comment on the program about that. What happened in the UK there. I did cover that directly with people involved over there on the program some months ago. Got a big reaction. But look, the reason I called in particular, I've been getting comment. It seems like finally the straw has broken the well-known camel's back with this welcome to country at the AFL game. And, some of the claims made are just laughable. One of my listeners said it's going to be 1,000,000 years because Mr. Kerrin said this has been going on for 250,000 years plus. Well, that seems wildly inaccurate apart from anything else. But welcome to country, as near as I can tell, it started out as kind of, people said, oh, well, it's a quaint custom. Some people did mock it. I know I went to a wedding a few years ago, and when they were doing the welcome to country, the individual who was doing it said, we'd like to acknowledge the original owners of the land, L.J. Hooker. So, people were, I suppose in a situation where they thought it's not a big deal, but we think it's silly. But it's gone further than that now. It is divisive. And what it's saying, no matter what Mr. Kerrin says about, it's not about the whole of Australia, it's about different lands, it's very clearly saying this is our place, not your place, isn't it?
It is, Mike, and you've summed it up very well there. And what you have said, it is very divisive, and I've always spoken out against it. I'm the only one on the floor of Parliament who actually turns my back on it when it's said. And I did it at my grandson's school the other week. And it's really not inclusive. And when these kids tell me, my grandson said, he said, oh, Grandma, we've actually got to bend down, put our hands on the ground and do a welcome to country there. And I said, no, you don't. He said, but everyone does it. I said, no, you don't. This is as much your land as anyone else's. And that's my argument about this, that I was born here, and Lydia Thorpe will sit beside me and behind me in Parliament and say, oh, go back where you came from. Well, I'm sorry, I was born here. This is my land. This land I will fight and defend. This is the land that our former diggers and soldiers have actually sacrificed their lives, and the families have as well, for us to have the freedom of this nation. And yet we are continually handing over the land to native title. 54% is under native title. Another 12% is under determination. Queensland alone, we've handed over 6.7 million hectares in Crown land to the Aboriginal people. We're talking about just over 800,000 people registered as Aboriginals. That's around about 3% of the population. So what we're doing is we're actually denying ourselves the right to actually, go to certain places in this country because it belongs to the Aboriginals. Why are we doing that to ourselves? Even migrants that come here to become Australian, it must be a shock to them. I didn't realise this is Aboriginal land. I thought it was coming to a land that's Australians. We're all proud to be Australians together.
So do you think it's entrenched, or do you think there's a backlash on now and that maybe it's time to have a good look at it and decide whether to continue? Because even some activists of Aboriginal descent say, at the very least, it's been devalued, and doing it all over the place all the time is ridiculous, really.
It is. What I'm hearing is, especially on the plains, when people land and welcome the country, I just hold my tongue and I feel like screaming out, no, I don't, and I never will. But I thought I'll never allow me on a plane again. But that's the feeling around and the plane around me as well. So people are fed up with it, especially when politicians have functions one after another. I hear at the time from corporate meetings that they also do a welcome country, people over it. Some people now are refusing to acknowledge it and say it. And it's up to the people themselves, your listeners out there. For Christ's sake, if you don't agree with it, then don't go along with it. Because
Indeed.
you're only denying your right to this country, that you were born in this your country. You know, as I say, if you keep handing over the land, if we ever have war approaches our shores again, are you going to defend a land that they don't acknowledge that you own, you're part of? How many people are going to get up and fight and defend it? I said today in my speech, nowhere in the world would I defend something that you deny me the right that I'm a part of, an owner of, and neither will my children.
Indeed.
So people have to start grow a backbone.
Pauline, appreciate your time and comments as always. Thank you for coming on the program.
My pleasure. Thanks, Mike.
Senator Pauline Hanson, who is leader of Pauline Hanson's One Nation.